welcome to another episode of Little Green Notebook. We are rapidly catching up to the present day in this book of poems, and hopefully I have enough material that we won't hit a point where I'll have to stop making poetry videos or just make them far more scarce. But today I wanted to read quite a few of them that I wrote around 6 months ago, actually. So yeah, we are pretty rapidly catching up to present day. And we'll just see how far we get before I start running low on battery. So the first one is called To Those Hearts I Have Broken, and a lot of the poems that I wrote at this point in my life were very personal and very serious. So about people I've known, about very specific situations. So I hope these are ones that some of you guys can relate to. They're not exactly going to be, fun fact kind of poems or interesting, like in the way that, my Ted Bundy poem was interesting. They're not necessarily going to be vivid descriptions of, lakes and scenery and stuff like that. Some of them are gonna hit pretty hard. Also depending on how much your experiences are at all like mine. So, yeah. This one is called To Those Hearts I Have Broken. 1. At 13, I was too young to understand why I was worthy of being loved. I don't know what you saw in me, or if you ever saw past my smiles, but you moved on quickly, and I think I learned that from you. 2. Your middle school methods of courtship were not welcome. You seized me by the pigtails, bullied in a china shop, took every chance I gave you, and left it shattered on the kitchen floor. Maybe you have to stop breaking things before you can love someone. 3. I think there was good in you somewhere, but your embarrassment clouded you, leaving you blind in one eye, double vision in the other, and you insisted you could see twice as well. Our friendship faded before your cataracts did. 4. I'm sorry. I don't think I was ready for someone right. 5. All the Disney in the world cannot prepare you for a real relationship. Sometimes there are problems worse than 90 minutes in Gilbert Gottfried's voice, worse than who will pay for dinner and whether or not I like your favorite band. 6. We haven't spoken since the last poem I wrote about you. I think I'll spare you this one. 7. I don't know whose time was wasted here, but we both had to be pretty wasted to think this would last. 8. I wasted your time. I guess I was just on a roll. 7 hearts was one short of a round number, and of all the things I've given you, blame will never be one of them. 9. I hope I'm wrong for putting you on this list. I don't usually hope to be wrong, but I'll make an exception for you. 10. Sometimes it's easier to see your past as a trail of broken hearts than to admit that every stepping stone is a scar upon your own. If you call me a heartbreaker, know that now my heart is broken tenfold. So I guess what they say is true. I think that if there's anything that you get out of that poem, think about that last part, because I know I'm not the only person like this. I hate hurting people. And it's true. My heart is broken now tenfold. for every person I have hurt, and I know there have been more added to this list since I wrote it. And I know that this list was probably liberal in some places and conservative in others. But it's difficult to hurt someone and not end up a little bit hurt yourself. And even more so for people like me who have massive amounts of empathy. The next one is about a friend of mine who was kind of struggling to deal with this sort of problem, and I was actually sort of inspired by, because she was telling me about this sort of problem, and then I heard someone else write a poem about it that was long and intense and sort of in their own style, and I kind of wanted to write something short and sweet. So, based off of a story that my friend told me. It's called Straight. Driving you home, thinking about whether to touch your hand, you say, "I'm straight." I hit the brakes. "I'm sorry, what?" "I'm straight," you respond, "but you're in the left turn lane." It seems my life has been laid out like this. In a world of straights and U-turns, I swerve. I stumbled into my curves, and I hope that someday I may stumble into someone else's, but you're straight, and I'm in the left turn lane. I haven't written much about LGBT type issues. A lot of poets do write a lot about those things, and every time I've tried, it hasn't quite come out right. So that's kind of the one attempt that I think got the idea across without making too big a deal out of it, and yet making it so that even if you're not LGBT, you can sort of relate. Right, the next one is called Skin Cells. It's been too long since I've seen your face. Too long since I've felt your fingertips, the way you get under my skin but can still make me feel sexy. I wanted you to belong there. Sweaty palms, sweaty lips. You could rub snow angels into my back and I'd still want you to talk dirty. If your tongue could cut, and it wouldn't surprise me, I'd bleed. You'd spin a Charlotte's web of words high school English never taught. You filled in my blanks, but started with my heart. As I grew into the skin you picked, my fifth chamber will fit no one else. And if we were made of pixie dust, you'd be my happily ever after instead of my once upon a time. But this flesh binds me stable, ankles chained for my storybook rom-com wishes, bones too solid for my liquid dreams. When Harry met Darcy, met every story I read too much before bed, I thought maybe I'd find you again. But maybe it's time to stitch myself back up, because I'll never find someone who gets under my skin like you. This one has its awkward bits. What I really like is, it's something I've sort of tried to write about here and there and again, but I'll say oftentimes when talking about my romantic life that I read way too much Pride and Prejudice growing up. I love intellectual things, as you can probably tell by the way my channel is laid out. And it's grown to be incredibly huge part of my life. Part of, the dynamics with people, social situations, everything. And sort of this was my way of explaining how maybe trying to pursue intellect before personality doesn't always work out. I think that's a good way of putting it. I'm trying to put it delicately but vaguely, but yeah, trying to and just in general, pursuing an ideal doesn't always work out. Like, I've read multiple articles since then about how, Darcy was not an ideal character. He was kind of an ass. But there we go. The next one is called My Best Friend is a Poem. And in the last video, I did a poem called I Have a Friend. So this is about one of my friends who I wrote about in that poem. And I wrote this for her, and I will not name her, but if you know me and you know her, you know exactly who she is. And yeah, this is what my best friend is like. My best friend is a poem. My best friend was born with an open heart. They said she would never speak, never listen, never see. Now she does all three and better than most. My best friend is a poem. She has fought death more than any living being I know. My best friend is a poem, a muse, and despite brief pauses, always has more to say. There are stitches where her words were rearranged, tangents were removed, and sometimes she's not sure where she's going, and some people don't know where she's been, having started a few lines in, but I've seen her, line after line, and I'm sure by the end everything will be fine, because my best friend is a poem, and every poem ends with applause. This is one of those poems that I wrote after I stopped performing slam poetry, and I really want to perform it someday, but yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see the next time there's a poetry slam in my area, or one that I'll be able to drive up to visit. Let me see. I think this next one's gonna be the last one. It's untitled. It's hard to tell sometimes if our personalities are clashing terribly or making beautiful music, but then my tastes have always been odd. Our hugs have always lasted just a second too long, and I wonder sometimes, what would it feel like to love you? I don't know what more I can say about that, but I've had a number of friends who I've sort of had that thought about, where you know nothing's ever going to happen, but yet you still wonder, what would it be like to be dating this person? Even if there is absolutely no interest, sometimes it just so happens that a friend of yours starts dating someone and you've never seen them date anyone before, and then you wonder, what's that like? Even if you never had any interest in that person before, it can be a funny thing. Anyway. This book. Like I said, we are getting close to the end, but every once in a while I do add more poems in this. And I think I have a couple of poems, because these were all poems that were written in winter of last year, so 2013, beginning of 2014. And I have a few poems from spring and summer that I need to add to this before I make my next video to keep it fully updated. But yes, this is approximately where we are, where the ribbon is. So this, in a year of me reading poems, we've made it this far, and that year has been reading poems. Oh my gosh, that's 7 years of poems, yeah. The first poem in this book was written in 2007. I don't know how long it'll take this book to finish up. I get the feeling that maybe my next few videos will be focusing on one poem at a time, but yeah, we will see. But yeah, that'll be it for today. I don't know about my ability to get this video uploaded this week. I am going to be gone for most of it. But I guess, telling you guys about my inability to upload this week isn't saying anything, because once you see this video will have been uploaded anyway. But yes, I appreciate you guys being with me despite my inconsistent video making and uploading schedule. I really wanted to have this video uploaded for my cake day on Reddit, because I know a lot of you guys watch my stuff from Reddit or found me through Reddit. And my cake day was on Tuesday, so obviously that didn't happen, but yes. I posted a thread asking about your preference of visualizations on Reddit instead, and I want to extend that question to you guys. So, yeah, what is your preference regarding visualizations? It's something I've been looking into writing, and especially now that we're reaching the end of this little book on poetry, I want to have more stuff that I've written that I can read to you guys. So I think visualizations might be a good way to go with that, especially since I feel like I could write a pretty good poetic visualization. It just depends on what you guys want to hear. I'm very open to feedback. I love being given prompts. Every year for National Poetry Writing Month, I'll have friends tell me, what should I write about, and give me prompts, even if it's some of the stupidest things. One year I had a friend tell me to write about a squirrel or something, and I wrote a very strange poem about a girl who turns into a squirrel. So, yeah, definitely give me any prompts or ideas, and I will write what I can of them, and even if the poems are completely idiotic, if one of you gives me a prompt, I will read it in a video. Okay. That is it for today, and I will see you guys next time.